It began with a roar. Indian fighter jets screamed across the line of control, their target Pakistani outposts in Azad Kashmir. It was a brazen attack, an act of aggression. The year was 2025 and India had chosen war. Tensions had been simmering for months. The spark? A fabricated incident in Indian-controlled Kashmir. Tourists, they claimed, were killed by Pakistani agents. Evidence was flimsy. The narrative, however, stuck. India launched Operation Sindoor, a campaign of threats and intimidation. Pakistan watched, waited, and prepared. The Indian Air Force struck on May 6th. They aimed to cripple Pakistan's defenses. They underestimated their enemy. Pakistan's armed forces were ready. Surface-to-air missiles lit up the night sky. Indian jets were met with a wall of lead. The element of surprise was gone. The fight had begun. This was not the Pakistan of old. This was a nation prepared, a nation ready to defend its sovereignty, a nation that would write its own destiny. Pakistan's response was swift. Codename Operation Zarb-e-Haq, the Sword of Justice. This was not about revenge. It was about surgical strikes, about precision, about minimizing civilian casualties. This was a new Pakistan fighting a new kind of war. Pakistani jets, armed with smart bombs, took to the skies. Their targets Indian ammunition depots, radar stations, and military air bases. Pathankot, Jammu. One by one, these strategic assets were neutralized. The message was clear. Don't mistake our restraint for weakness. The world watched in shock. India, the supposed regional giant, was on the back foot. Their aggression had been met with a calculated response. Their attempts at crippling Pakistan's military infrastructure had failed. Zarb-e-Haq had drawn first blood, but this was only the beginning. The next 72 hours would determine the fate of both nations. The Sialkot sector became a crucible of conflict. Indian tanks rumbled across the border, aiming to capture Pakistani territory. They were met by the unyielding spirit of Pakistani soldiers, men who knew every inch of the land, men who fought with the courage of their forefathers. Pakistani tanks, utilizing superior tactics and maneuverability, lay in wait. Ambushes were sprung. Indian armor, caught in the open, was decimated. Pakistani infantry, armed with anti-tank missiles, picked off enemy vehicles one by one. 3 Indian forward posts fell within hours. The ground shook with the roar of artillery. Pakistani drones, circling overhead, relayed crucial intelligence. This was a coordinated assault, a symphony of destruction orchestrated with deadly precision. The Indian advance was halted, their attack stalled. The myth of Indian military superiority lay shattered on the battlefield. This war wasn't just fought on land and air, it was fought in the digital realm. In the unseen battlefields of cyberspace, Pakistani hackers waged a silent war. Their weapon code, their target, India's digital infrastructure. Military communication networks went dark. Troop movements were intercepted and leaked. Critical infrastructure was targeted. The Indian military, once reliant on technology, was plunged into chaos. This was Pakistan's asymmetric advantage, a small nation punching above its weight in the digital arena. The world took note. Cyber warfare was the new frontier of conflict, and Pakistan had proven itself a formidable player. Section 5: The World Reacts. The international community watched with bated breath. The United States, fearing a wider conflict, urged restraint. The G7 issued a joint statement calling for de-escalation. China, a steadfast ally, stood by Pakistan, condemning Indian aggression. To the world's surprise, support for Pakistan poured in. Turkey, Malaysia, and several African nations voiced their solidarity. The narrative peddled by India, of a rogue nation sponsoring terrorism, rang hollow. The world had seen through the facade. India, facing international condemnation, grew isolated. Their gamble had backfired. The conflict had exposed their hypocrisy, their desperation. They had underestimated Pakistan's resolve, and they had miscalculated the global response. Section 6: Ra'ad Ultimatum, the Final Thunder. With Indian forces reeling, Pakistan launched its final offensive. Operation Ra'ad Ultimatum, the Thunder Ultimatum. This time, the weapons of choice were missiles. Long-range, precision-guided missiles capable of striking deep within Indian territory. Air bases in Rajasthan and Gujarat, home to India's remaining fighter jets, were targeted. The night sky lit up with fiery trails of destruction. Indian air defenses, overwhelmed and outmatched, could only watch as their strategic assets were reduced to rubble. Ra'ad Ultimatum was a decisive blow. India's air force, once considered a formidable force, was effectively grounded. Their ability to wage war had been crippled. Faced with the prospect of total defeat, India had only one option left. They sued for peace. Section 7. A nation forged in fire. On May 9, 2025, after 72 hours of intense fighting, a ceasefire was declared. The terms were simple: a return to pre-conflict borders and a UN-monitored demilitarization of the line of control. Pakistan, having achieved its objectives, agreed. The nation erupted in celebration. People took to the streets waving flags, chanting slogans. This was their victory. A victory hard won against all odds. A victory that proved Pakistan's resilience, its unwavering commitment to defending its sovereignty. This was not just a military victory. It was a triumph of the Pakistani spirit, a testament to the unwavering belief of a nation in its destiny. The 72-hour war had forged a new Pakistan, a Pakistan respected on the world stage, a Pakistan that had found its voice. Section 8. The price of peace. Victory, however, came at a cost. Sons and daughters of Pakistan lay buried beneath the soil they had fought so valiantly to defend. Their sacrifice would never be forgotten, their names etched in the annals of history, alongside the heroes of Pakistan's past. The physical scars of war would heal, buildings could be rebuilt, infrastructure restored, but the emotional toll, the invisible wounds of conflict would take longer to mend. Families torn apart, lives forever changed. This was the price of peace, a price paid by both sides. Section 9. A message of strength and hope. Pakistan emerged from the conflict victorious, but this was not a time for triumphalism. It was a time for reflection, a time to honor the fallen and rebuild what was lost. A time to extend a hand of friendship to India, to heal the wounds of the past and forge a new future. Pakistan had proven its strength, it had shown the world its resolve. But more importantly, it had demonstrated its commitment to peace. The message from Islamabad was clear. We do not want war, we do not seek conflict, but we will not hesitate to defend our land, our people, our honor. The 72-hour war was a turning point in South Asian history. It shattered old paradigms and ushered in a new era, an era where Pakistan stood tall, a beacon of hope and resilience, a nation reborn.